Crack open that bottle of wine. Grab your favorite glass, pour a couple of fingers of scotch in it. Get that stick, light it, and blow. It's time to hang with Steel Sharpens Steel After Dark.
You took the condom out the trash can 'cause you want to get my sperm. Condom out the trash can. A spicy lesson to be learned. I know when that hot sauce sting, it can only be one thing. Ever since I left the toilet, you running around screaming that your coochie sore. Trying to sue me 'cause you can't trap no more. Screaming like a puppy across the bathroom floor.
New hotness from Jake Drizzy coming into Feb 2022. That hot sauce sting. Make sure you get it from the 06. Ladies and gentle people, welcome to this Friday edition of Steel Sharpeneth Steel. I have sitting with me Drizzy Stevens, who is covering her mouth. I am Tom Cunningham. Welcome. How is everybody doing today? We got some comments coming in. Thank you, Vera Jordan. Hello to the rest of the Sharpies from Anthony Turner. Jeannie Jones is dead and laughing and dead and laughing.
I cracked myself up. I practiced that so many times. And then when I started to say it and I read my own lyrics, I was like scooting across the bathroom, scooting like a puppy across the bathroom floor. Like, I can't say this out loud. And then I got off beat.
Ever since I left the toilet, you
running around screaming about your coochie
sore. Coochie.
Trying to sue me 'cause you can't trap no more.
No more.
Dragging like a puppy across the bedroom floor. Ever since I left the toilet, you.
Yeah, there it is.
I know when that hot sauce sting.
Sting.
It can only mean one thing.
One thing, y'all.
Took the condom out the trash can. Why would you do that?
Well, I understand why she would do it, because he's one out of 131 streams. All streams on the interwebs last year was a Drake song. He was by far, it was 8.9 billion streams, on demand streams, not just some stuff you got off the Pandora. That was you saying,
yes,
I want Drizzy. 8.9 billion times. That's right. A lot.
She wanted a Drake baby, and
she wanted a Draby.
Wait, there's a notice about community standards. What?
We got a community standards thing?
I don't know. Maybe
no.
The word,
because you said coochie?
Maybe.
Oh, sperm?
Maybe. I don't know. You know what? I've seen the community, and y'all have no standards. Don't miss me with that nonsense.
I was just fixing to say, my God.
Right.
You're doing a lot right now, Mark Zuckerberg. Leave it alone.
Trying to oppress me, my freedom of speech and expression in my art. This was parody art.
Parody. It's just jokes.
It's just jokes, people.
You know what's not? You know what is not a joke? The anniversary of the greatest sorority known to God or man. That being the sorority of jacket, apparently. She's sliding down. She got all three of the symbols and the coat of arms. That's right. Delta Sigma Theta. Congratulations.
Sorority Incorporated. Yes.
And incorporated. That's right. Yeah, my mother is a member of Delta Sigma Theta. My father is a member of Kappa Alpha Psi, as am I, as was his father.
Right.
And so I'm feeling the crimson and cream. I'm wearing my crimson and cream in
I
honor
was
of
about
you.
to say, between the two
Oh,
of
yeah.
us, this is the most crimsonest and
Creaminess,
creamest
creaminess.
we've been in a minute. Happy early Founders Day to the women
That's
of
right.
Alpha Sorority
Sorority
Incorporated.
Incorporated.
Yes,
That's tomorrow.
that is tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's been busy. It's been really busy.
Right.
It's been a busy January.
We want to say happy birthday to all the January babies.
All the January babies. Sister Jenkins, can you read the January babies, please?
Right.
What now? I have to say, on the topic of Delta Sigma Theta, and I hope, audience, you can let me know if my microphone level is too hot right now. I have a new mic, and so
You sound great.
Why, thank you. Why, thank you. I just found out yesterday, like when I was in school, we had Noop juice, and the Qs had Omega oil, and I think the Alphas had Jungle juice.
Jungle juice.
It was Jungle juice. The Iotas weren't even a consideration when I was in school, so I'm gonna leave them off, except to say when they came out with Centaur P.
They didn't.
SS.
They didn't really call it that, did they?
Oh, yes. Proudly. And it fits. So I just found out that there are versions of these hunch punches on the sorority side, which I had never heard before.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Duck sauce. So I saw a
I
TikTok.
had that at a Chinese, at an Asian fusion restaurant. It was delicious, kind of sweet and tangy. I don't know what you're talking about.
I saw a TikTok which which indicated that members of your organization be snatching dudes' souls with some duck sauce, and I was not aware that that was a thing. So, what just happened? Okay, there we go.
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, did you take me and you took yourself?
What you're not gonna do is have Sharon put me in the cut later because I was on screen while you did some nonsense.
I'm not talking about nonsense. I was just mentioning, out of the more than 100 years of finer womanhood and amazing accomplishment across the full range of Black women who have been doing things for and in the name of Delta Sigma Theta. I'm not trying to in any way disparage those amazing women. There are too many Deltas in my family to try to do that. I'm just saying duck sauce made me chuckle. So, if we are done with the NPHC shout out portion of the program, wait, is that... Oh my God, this is one of my high school friends who's talking about my tracksuit. he said I look like...
You are
like the 6 million. I love how slow motion meant fast. It was like, and when they brought the fembots in those leisure shoes,
man,
when the biotic woman was running slow, and he gets the burn.
And it would always be some like really over exaggerated 3-foot jump, like jumping on top of a car.
Oh yeah, and then when the $7 million man came along, he was $1 million better, and so Steve Austin was having trouble. That is, thank you, Craig. I am feeling very Steve Austin adjacent today. That was my favorite. And do you know that doll, the original $6 Million Man doll, which I had because you could roll up the rubber flesh on his arm and see bionic components, and you could stick tubes in and like take the components out and put them back in. And he also had a fake eye that you could look in the back of his head, and it made things look small, so it looked like they were far away. I had that doll, and it is one of the most valuable collectibles today, because it wasn't regular. It was a bigger size. It wasn't like little, like, you know, like the regular doll. It was like 13, 12 inches or whatever, and he had a little table. Oh man, I loved that friggin' thing. We were living in Colorado Springs, Colorado when I had that doll for Christmas. Man. Welcome, Sharon Letman.
Good evening.
I'm going to put you up top so that you can be with your sister.
Rah-rah.
There you
Happy
go.
Rah-rah.
Hey,
Happy
Sunlight.
Founders Day.
Happy Founders Day to you. I've been real good, Sharon. I didn't do nothing bad. I didn't let him say anything bad.
She didn't.
That's good.
And for you Sharpies at home, if you turn your laptops upside down, it's kind of a pyramid, actually. So if you want to break your stuff, feel free. I'm not going to be responsible for that.
What happens upside down? What happens?
He said
if you turn your laptop upside down, it's a pyramid.
Wow. You thought of that all by yourself?
I did. I was just making some Legos
thought about
earlier.
all day, Joy, that even has us beat, right? Mm-hmm. Chuck and Tom, right, were birthed by deltas.
Oh, that's right.
Okay. Technically, 4 deltas on the show.
Oh,
technically,
wow.
yes. They are okay. They are half delta.
So we don't just represent ourselves. We represent those deers that birthed co-hosts.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. That's true.
You got delta on your mama's side.
I guess that makes me a delta variant.
You know what? You know.
Okay,
you know what? I'll just go like this.
Oh,
you get that one. You get that one. Now, you know I do dabble in graphics, so I'm going to have to exploit that statement.
Yep. Oh, snap. Okay. So why don't we get into it? I would like to start off today's show with some news that I think is a long time coming. I don't know why it took this long, but I have to say this. We have decided that our progeny, Andrew, formerly Prince, is officially stripped of all military titles and royal patronages. These shall return to us, and we shall dole them out
Father God,
as we desire. And all of this because, I mean, he's a pedophile, so.
How
I guess that's oh, he's old. He's what? He was the second oldest son. So he's got to be in his 60s.
So he's lived his life.
Oh, he's lived his whole life. Bye. No, I mean.
Let's can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you.
I had a static for a second. Okay. Let's be clear. Ain't nothing happened yet. So for them to make this kind of move, something about to happen.
Oh, yeah.
This was called the preemptive move.
Well, this is the second preemptive move because she made him retire from public life. Thank you, Jeannie. He's 61. So she made him retire from public life like a year and a half, like when Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself, she made him retire from public life. So he had to stop. He couldn't wear the pretty clothes and get in the carriage and all that stuff anymore. He just had to retreat. Go sit in the corner, Andrew. And now she did to him what she did to Harry and Meghan. She took all his stuff away. So each of them.
Let me say it again.
Oh yeah.
Let me clear. Homegirl got convicted. Okay.
Oh yeah.
The floor. She has not been sentenced yet. The floor is about to shake on the royals. She ain't trying to do all that time, Joy. Mm-hmm. And she is naming names.
It's about to go down.
And just by that move, Just that move out of nowhere, right? Ain't nothing going on right now. The verdict is just gone coming. It's old news.
Mm-hmm.
And they gonna make the news cycle and pull something like that
Right.
next week.
It was like the royal equivalent of "I'm not with him."
Hello, go on off screen, girl.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
We
The
are
earth is
not
about
with
to
him.
shake on the royals.
I'm
So they can
interested.
say, well, we disowned him last week.
Mhm. Right. So what they can say is when this happens, he was not a member of the royal
The
whatever
royal
they
family,
were.
right?
And they can keep their, untarnished.
But
Oh,
can
what
we?
happened? No, that wasn't a member of the royal. No, he's stricken from the books. He was never. We don't know
And you
him.
know those the courts want salacious details.
I'm sorry
Oh
to
yeah.
this man. We don't know him. No.
But
Salacious details.
this is what I don't understand though.
Your girlfriend
How
Gisela.
how many how many tabloid headlines coming out of the UK were talking about how Meghan is mean? Meghan's dad wrote a mean letter. Meghan's sister says Meghan is mean. Meghan is rude to staff. Meanwhile, Prince Andrew is a whole entire pedophile.
Pedophile, a whole ass pedophile.
And Piers Morgan can't keep Meghan's name out his mouth. Meanwhile, this bastion of the Windsors is a whole entire island hopping pedophile. And you ain't got nothing to say?
Well, it's two different ends of privilege. You have white, powerful man and black woman. They're two ends of the spectrum. He's always to be believed, always to be given a second chance, always to be innocent until proven guilty. And she was dead from start.
Yeah.
Never she has to continually prove her innocence, always guilty. Every new rumor is the truth until she can prove a negative that she's not done something. You cannot prove a negative. um, you can wake up tomorrow and say, Megan got a sex tape out, and it would be the truth until she could prove it's not true. And that's how that's how it is when you are both female and black. He could have a video of him show up on times on the side of Big Ben. And they would be like, well, we're not sure. We need to look at the facts. This could be doctored, etc. It could be live. It could be running live. And they would still say, well, let's make sure this is him.
I
What?
don't even want to attempt to sound jovial on the statement I'm about to make.
Oh Lord.
But the United States court system ain't as fucked up as we expect it to be. And it's about the only thing that's kind of working in this country. Because what's about to come
Yes.
down on him, I'm just saying it in this box.
Mhm.
Don't send me no hate mail. But I, I Joy, you just said a mouthful. But the only thing that's given us any justice in America of late is the court system on
Dakotes.
multiple levels.
Thanks,
Dakotes.
Right?
Obama.
The Supreme Court is gonna make me eat my words in a couple of weeks, I'm sure. But
Mm.
for the moment, I'm rejoicing in the little level of justice we have seen over the last 6 months through the court system.
Well, it's certainly not going to stop with Prince Andrew, as was announced in a number of outlets. There are many more people in the Orange One's orbit who are getting sucked into the January 6th, and it looks like the latest ones to take that virtual walk of shame are supposed to be Don Jr. and his longtime fiance behind the scenes, Screamer Supreme, Kimberly Guilfoyle. They are supposed to be dragged in there. And the interesting thing is that he still thinks he has some sort of privilege as a former president. All you have is Secret Service detail. That's all you don't have a special parking spot at the White House anymore. Like you don't have
Not the
anything.
parking spot.
You don't get a free cup of coffee at
You can't
Dunkin'.
even get a bagel out the kitchen, son.
No. You get nothing. And they are
You get no
dragging your
love.
people. Mark, what is it? Kevin McCarthy has decided he's going to ignore I almost said subpoena. He's gonna ignore his subpoena, but at the end of the day, it's getting tricky out here. it's hard out here for a pimp, and no one is feeling that more acutely, I don't think, than these Trumpies right now, because they're not hanging real tough. And with Letitia and the Cyrus and all them people up in New York who are doing the criminal and the civil things, it's about to get tight.
Letitia's up in New York, like cracking knuckles, like bring it.
Yes, and I'm not running for governor anymore, so leave it alone. I'm gonna see this through.
She about to get her joy. She about to get her joy.
I'm here for
Joy,
all of it.
Joy comes in the morning. That's what they say.
And she come at 2 o'clock in the morning, as a matter of fact, because that's the best time to raid your place.
I need one of our Sharpies. I need a point of personal privilege. Put my finger up. I need one of these Sharpies with a medical background to tell me the challenge that I have, because I want y'all to know I'm doing everything in my power not to rock.
So
I'm doing.
she's trying to avoid this. We just need a seatbelt.
I want you to know I got knees knocking, wrist holding, body tightened, everything I could do, and I just want to do this so bad. So I just had to, before Tom Jones me, I just decided I needed to have a moment of confession. So
we just need to get you a seatbelt. And CJ says, I thought something was really wrong.
I know.
CJ, I thought you was my girl. CJ, I thought you was my girl. I thought we were having a connection, and you done fucked up. She done said something wrong with your ass. I have, I ain't even gonna lie. I have such, every time I move, I say, Tom about to Jones me, and I just lock my knees again. But that shit hurt. I can't sit like that.
You are doing a great job.
You're doing wonderfully. You got this. You got this, Sharon.
I have a couple vulnerable moments that I'll share with y'all throughout this evening.
So
we're here for you, Sharon.
And I'm here for you, Joy, because we have another topic that leans on your
That's what the
home
medical
state.
professional was for.
CJ tried to clean it up.
Thank you, CJ. Okay.
I do have a lot wrong with me, CJ. I'll let you know.
Put a pillow behind you so you can't rock back.
Y'all must never see my ass. Ain't enough pillows between my small of my back and the ass that hits the back of the seat. We'll be here all day.
You know who's not going to be here all day? Teachers in Texas.
Oh, Father God.
As this headline from Natalia Musumeci says, as COVID-19 cases spike, a Texas school district is asking parents to become substitute teachers. Let me tell you what I am not going to do. I am not going to take vacation time from my job to be a substitute for my child. And we're dealing with it. Thomas just got back in school because he had a positive COVID test. And yesterday, they let him go back to school because we thought we had fulfilled all of the whatevers. But he still can't get his day pass because they got to file the negative test into the system, and they're backlogged because of course they are, because this is California, and despite the fact that we're aggressive with our vaccinations, Omarion has made all the children at LAUSD a part of his entourage, and so they got to do a whole lot of extra in order to clear people. So they know he's out with COVID, but they're still sending me notifications as though he's absent. That's the thing that pisses me off. I done called people and said he's not coming today because he's not clear. Our latest reports indicate that your child, Thomas, has one or more unexcused absences today. Please call back with an explanation. I done explained.
It's deep.
You won't let the boy back in school. So now in Texas, because the teachers are sick, you're going to ask parents to come in. First of all, I don't need any of you Texas parents who think you know what CRT is when in fact you don't know what CRT is, teaching my kids anything. I don't want you teaching them fractions. Nothing.
They don't know fractions anyway. Didn't I just tell y'all last week or week before about the fake Gilead coming up in Austin?
You did.
And then you want these people to potentially be teaching in a classroom.
See, and Vera Jordan, you just said what I said. You don't need access.
Another moment of confession.
Oh, Lord.
As Jesus. You know, where there's Texas, there's Florida. right? In my beautiful Leon County, one of the only blue counties in our state of Florida, consistently for the last 100 years, we have only 3 of our 67 counties. We sent that notice out in October asking parents to be substitute teachers for $14 an hour. So if you're working from home,
14
you can make a little extra coins. But they have asked
$14 an hour.
parents, $14 an hour, and anyone that you can find under a rock. We need substitute teachers.
Wow.
I'm say we're gonna show it on. I sent it around like, is this for real? And Becky's Karens at my child's particular public school are accustomed to being on campus, right? So COVID interrupted their mommy power through the PTO. Now, full disclaimer, Sharona was that parent at her private school. And I was taking tests to get on campus because my baby, I bought the mobile unit to the campus because everybody had to be tested. My child had missed not a day of school for the last 2 years, right? So, but now they pay parents. So don't get it confused. These mommies are taking that $14 an hour so they can be on campus with Liam and Leah, and
Not Liam. Ye gods.
we got them all.
Kaylee and Kylie and Keely.
Kylie, definitely some Kylies.
Mm.
And Kaylee's.
Go ahead, John.
I would do that. I would go substitute teach and say the most outrageous shit to these kids.
Yeah, I just didn't want to embarrass my son. I get you.
They would go home. I don't have children. They would go home.
No, I agree with you. I thought of it as what I mean.
Right. And be like, Mommy, we're devils. Did you know that, Mommy? Go home. Mommy, the day the teacher told us about white supremacy, she said it was icing on a cake of lies. Mommy, guess what we done today in school? Did you know that Thanksgiving was a lie and we should stop celebrating it every day? Mommy, guess what we learned today in school? Oh, good Lord. What? Mommy, today we learned what genocide is every day. Every day. Genocide is when white people kill everybody else because they're selfish bastards. I learned what a bastard is today, Mommy. Every day.
Oh, my God.
Every day. I learned what colonizer is, Mommy. Look, I got a colonizer doll. I got to put your face on it. Here.
I was listening to a podcast.
We did trees today, Mommy. Look, it goes straight up. Look, here.
One of my favorite podcasts is This American Life, and one of the segments of the episode from this past weekend was about a Texas principal, a black man, which of course that was the problem, who having seen some of the support he had received from parents, made a comment that, basically, it's great that we're coming together and such and such and thus and so. Well, some parents got their knickers in a twist, and they eventually started the ball rolling, which resulted in him being fired because they said his texts or his email indicated that he was teaching critical race theory, which of course, not a single school
anywhere in the United States.
In the United States, at the grade school level or the high school
level. Or North America, including Canada and Mexico.
Is teaching critical race theory.
No.
So just anybody who tries to tell you, oh, CRT, blah, blah, blah. CRT is the critical reading theory club that we want you to join and join us in examining the 1619 Project. There is no CRT. That is a college level academic study paradigm. It is not a thing. And if you think your child is going to feel bad because they learn accurate history, maybe you should do a better job of telling your kids what truth is and what the past is, so that they don't feel bruised. They just know, oh yeah, Mommy, I what you said was true. Slavery was a bad thing.
They're definitely afraid that some of those 1960s pictures are going to show their grandma and granddad on rocks at people in Oklahoma.
Now, you know what's really deep though? and I'm back on my little Leon County because I was poo-pooing on them at the beginning of last fall when my son first went into general population. So I know Tom loves that. So Christmas, I'm still learning the system, and all the CRT stuff really bothers me. And they have this thing called accelerated reading, it's AR program, and they have to bring home 2 books a week. So the first time he brought home like Anne Frank and something else, I was like, I'm so sorry. What is this? I said, no, nothing, no offense, but I need you to show me what's in your library. I want you to bring home all nonfiction books. Homeboy rolled up with Benjamin Banneker. Homeboy rolled up with Harriet Tubman. He wrote, he just bring me the standard MLK, right? He rolled up with Rosa Parks. We read about Lord Jesus. Who did he brought home famous athletes. I was like, he brought home some Afro Latinos. I was like, look at you. So, and then he brought home Benjamin Franklin. Then he brought home LBJ. No, this week I told him to go get LBJ. He brought on Teddy Roosevelt. But I was more impressed, Joy. This is an elementary school now. I know I'm old, but my child is 8, right? So he brings home all these and this is in their media center. So I was like, okay, let's see how long this is gonna last because we got we have 5 members of our school board and 2 are Black, right? And the chairman is none other than the Honorable Darrell Jones, right? So who makes no bones about Title I schools. Mm-hmm. The difference here is he brought home his holiday package, Joy. And I was going through, they do all kind of stuff for every Veterans Day, for this, that. I see Christmas, I see the Hanukkah. The last page in the book, Joy, you ready for it? Kwanzaa. Now, Black people are the 3rd minority in his school, if you can believe it. 3rd, right? Okay. There's the majority, 6 F'ers. Mm-hmm. Then there are Asians are 2nd. South Asians are 1st. Asian Americans are 2nd from that genre, and then they're African Americans and Latino are the last minority group. So again, right, we not there. Mm-hmm. And they had a colored page about Kwanzaa. So I was like, I hope this is not where CRT going. That's why I'm sorry, right? Because I was so moved, right? And he was like challenging me with questions. I was like, what's in your folder? And then this week, he was like, I want to say this to do with my daddy, my historical daddy. I said, what's in the packet? This whole packet of MLK stuff. And I was like, okay, and not like generic stuff. So I'm going to hold out some hope, right? Black people are less than 30% of the population of this county, but that's still a healthy population. We're more than the national average. Yeah. But they do responsibly introduce, I can't wait to see what we do on Juneteenth, right? Even though it's summer school, but they had a healthy portfolio of educating about the winter holidays, including Kwanzaa. And they just sent home this full MLK package. And their library, their media center is full of introduction of Black history.
Cool.
Mm. Well, it sounds like you're saying that the idea of having parents as subs may not be a bad thing, at least in Leon County.
Well, no, I didn't say that. One ain't got nothing to do with the other. I understand
the library.
Well, okay, but she also said $14 an hour back in October. So I mean, maybe it's not all bad. In Texas, though, I'd have to say I have no confidence.
There's a difference between if Ron DeSantis knew this was going on in his school versus it's going on in his school. That's 2 different things. All I'm saying on the school level, they recognize their critical population that's in the public school system, and the awareness of our history and our purpose and our existence is happening, which is why they're bucking and pushing back. Mm. You understand what I'm saying? The president of NEA is a Black woman. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Becky Pringle is a Black woman, not mixed with no whole bunch of. She is a sister who's the president of NEA, right? And you know, unions are still there, but this is decades, this is generations of change that has come to the system to make sure that we exist, which is why they latched on to this foolishness with critical race theory. Right? To them, a book on Benjamin Banneker, is a big damn deal.
Well, Benjamin Banneker was a big damn deal, so.
He was, but I'm saying it exists in the elementary school library of a non-Title I school.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. I'm here for it, and I will fight to make sure it stays there.
Mm-hmm.
What one thing that I think is probably likely to cause a few fights is yet another examination of Mr. David Chappelle and his commentary. This was a special request from she's taking her breaths already. I am giving you leave to rock, Sharon, if you want to rock. This is the headline: Dave Chappelle and the black ass lie that keeps us down. So this is an examination of a number of aspects of Chappelle, but it's predicated on his recent Netflix specials, especially The Closer. So, Sharon, what the sub headline is: the comedian perpetuates the idea that straight black men have it worse than any other group of black people, including black women and LGBTQ plus black people. Now, that was not a vibe I got out of The Closer per se, but I have heard that allegation, which I find to be patently ridiculous. So why don't you go on ahead and take it, Madame Sharon?
Well, I want to have a robust dialogue about this, right?
Yeah.
First, I want to encourage our audience to read it. Jamila is no joke, right? Mm-hmm. But what I appreciated more than anything is how she contextualized it from Black women and the LGBTQ population, right? We are more allies than foes, right? And let's not discount that there are Black women amongst the LGBTQ community. The Black LGBTQ community, right? I don't want to otherize my community, right? Mm-hmm. So when I say that, what cis het Black women tend to have a problem with, especially when you talk about trans women being Black women amongst our population from a sense of equality, it's not divorced on the conversation about sexuality started well before the LGBTQ movement. It started with the women's movement, right? Sexuality is deeply seeped in marginalizing anyone that's not a man, right? And particularly in the connotation around the whole Dave Chappelle debauchery. It wasn't about, being sensitive. It was about the invisibility of communities that were do harm. What I appreciate about Jamil's article is her dissecting, speaking up for Black women being lost amongst the patriarchy, right, of the role of men, in our case, in our community, particularly Black men, right? But she went deep on some truths, right? And I really want Mr. Joy on the dissecting, but I also want us to pace in our group, Tom, while we're talking about it, the article, to allow the Sharpies to give some feedback.
All right.
The article is a long read, though.
It's a long read, right? You're not going to get through this in this conversation, but it really does go deep on a larger issue. It's not just about Dave Chappelle, but on a larger issue as to how we as Black women marginalize ourselves due to learned behavior, mm-hmm. right? And the love that, being a mother of a Black boy, being a wife twice, understanding the complexities around the conversation and what the role of Big Mama is and what the role of, the existence around the Black woman narrative, particularly sisters who don't have that safety net, so to say, right? And who get lost in the fray or discounted for any criticism on Black men in particular. It was very interesting in how This article used an incident, but dissected the real struggles that we choose not to deal with as a community, or it divides us invisibly, that fractures our community by not being genuine, and then over tokenizing the moment of Black women, in historical cases like Breonna Taylor. But where's that consistency, right,
Mm-hmm.
of that kind of conversation? Take it, Joy.
One of the things that was a plus and a minus to me in this article is that it talks about so much, but it talks about so much, so it starts off with, and I think the using Dave Chappelle as an attraction to talk about all of this was smart, because he's been in the news and he talks about, and he's been a touchstone and a hot button topic for a while now. But once I started reading the article, I was like, we ain't even talking about Dave no more. This is a much bigger thing. And then it started to feel like she was all over the place, because she touches on so many aspects of it. And I mean, that's unfortunately, that's what intersectionality is to touch on all the different ways that we can come together. But I think the problem with listening to or looking at any individual that is not well versed and educated and experienced in speaking as a like diversity, equity, and inclusion expert is that they're going to have their own lens. I deal with this every day. I work with the African American Employees Network, the Women's Network, the Veterans Network, the LGBTQ Network. And I do this on a daily basis across multiple companies, across different nations even. And they're always worried about them. And so you'll see in the Black network, they'll make some disparaging remarks about gays. You'll see in the LGBTQ network, them do some off-color comments about people of color. You'll see in the Veterans Network that they're uncomfortable dealing with Black people and women and gay people and all of this, because they're worried about themselves. Every human is self-centered. We're all the center of our own universe, so to say that you can be a member of a marginalized community and also have your own bigoted views is easy, because you worried about yourself. And so Dave Chappelle is worried about himself. Has he done a respectable job of supporting his own views? Absolutely. Has he talked about the problems of Black men? Of course, because he is a cishet Black man. He knows that life because he's lived that life. He's never been a woman. He's never been gay, so he doesn't know that life. All he can do is be on the outside looking in and sometimes empathize. The one thing that I will say about the closer that I think, again, because people hear things through their own lens, one of the things, and I heard it in my own lens, one of the things that I did pick up was his discussion, and he said it specifically, I don't have a problem with the gay community, I have a problem with white people. And he said that specifically because the LGBT community, the LGBTQIA plus community has made a lot of strides, just like women have made a lot of strides. And for a long time after the civil rights movement, diversity, especially in corporate spaces, in civil rights movements, et cetera, took on the role of women, because women globally was an easy, low-hanging fruit thing to pick when you talked about equality, because everybody got a sister, especially white men. They have sisters that they can bring up. And so white women became the cause in the United States and UK, which is mostly what we were worried about. But even in China, they got sisters. Even in Japan and India and Sri Lanka, and anywhere else, they got sisters that they can bring up and say, look, we have diversity, equality, because we brought women along, and it became a global issue. And so that's why you saw white women getting shine everywhere, and it was easy to do, and it was comfortable, the most comfortable thing to approach. And so they jumped over the backs of all of the struggles of the civil rights movement, and white women got a whole bunch of stuff. And then you see the next adjacent to white gay, right? So this was still in their family. And I think one of the things that Dave was talking about when he talked about the things that, quote unquote, the gays had gotten everything, he was specifically talking about gay white men. And when you look at diversity in corporate spaces, et cetera, in the news and the media and everything, it's gay white men. The same way in other places, it's been white women, and when they talk about diversity. And they have left behind in their own community trans people, Black people, Latino people, etc., in the gay community. And it really got driven home for me when I was sitting in one of these meetings that I'm doing with a lot of different companies, and I'm listening to a white trans woman microaggress against Latinos and people of color and anyone that spoke a foreign language in the middle of an LGBTQIA meeting with leaders of the people of color group, the veterans group, and the women's group, all in this meeting together. And she is making disparaging remarks about speaking Mexican, about the fact that why do we need all these other languages on these posters, etc., because she had spent a majority of her life as a white man at the height of privilege. And that is what specifically Dave talked about in his special, is they come through and leave everybody else behind. And you'll see racism in the gay community. So he talked about Clifford, the big black N-word, in his show. And I think what he was approaching was how the LGBTQIA plus community leaves black gay people, black trans people, Latino gay people, Latino trans people, etc., behind, and promotes, similar to what we saw with white women, promotes only the white portion of their own demographic. And that was all missed because people got caught up in the trans jokes that he was telling and the fact that he kept leaving it right there. And so for me, with that article, her using him to speak about all this other stuff missed some of the stuff that he was saying in the closing. Now, that being said, Damon Young from Very Smart Brothers, around 2017, I want to say, he put out an article that said black men are the white men of the black community, and caught hell for it. And it was an excellent article. And Jermaine, you are right. White gay men didn't start Stonewall, but if you watch some of the fictional reenactments of it, they are all over them damn movies. But it was Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia, oh my God, I can't remember her name. Rivera. Right. Two trans women of color who started that. And
no, I'm pretty sure it was a young white guy with a black beret.
Boy, shut up.
I think I think what you're doing is, I think you're erasing the white privilege. Male privilege.
So what I was saying,
he dropped off of his tomfoolery.
No, she dropped me off. No, but no, that was Joy. Joy has administrative access. That was gangster. But go ahead, because you were making a very solid point about that particular circumstance.
Right. So him saying, black men are the white men of the black community. He was talking about the fact that a lot of, again, cis het black men, they weren't necessarily, and this is not all, please don't come for me with that. Or we all don't do it. I understand it in most of our audience. I'm not talking about y'all, but a significant critical mass number of black men don't necessarily want equality for everyone. They want replacement oppression. They want to put themselves at the top of a new dynamic where they are now in charge and women are still secondary citizens, be them white, black, whatever, women. You're still not equal. You're just maybe a little bit closer to the seat of power, which is now held by a black man. I'm not for that. And for that reason,
I'm not for it either, just so we're clear, as the only man on the screen right now. I am not a member of the Ankh Right, and solidarity, my sisters.
The Ankh Right, that's awesome.
I like
but
that.
These tend to be the ones that you see finding some resonance with the things that Trump has said. So that Ankh Right is very on point and on brand. But
Dr. Umar Johnson.
And so this idea of women needing to know their place. I don't have the time or the energy to get into the ramifications of how the church ties into that. We're gonna leave that for a whole nother show. But
that's a whole episode.
That's a special episode.
I need a blunt for that. But so when we talk about intersex, so getting back to my original point, I do DE&I for a living. So I can go into a room full of black people and tell them they're being homophobic as fuck. I can go into an LGBTQ group and say y'all are racist as hell. I can go into the veterans group and say y'all need to get y'all shit together and stop using all these racist slurs. I don't care what you did in the Navy. I go hard on my friends when we're playing video games at 2:00 in the morning. Like the next one that says the R word, because they love to. There's a trend online to use the word rape casually. There's a very strong rape culture in video games. Well, they'll say, oh, they're spawn raping, let's just go rape these people, blah, blah, blah. And when I'm playing games, what you're not going to do is keep using these words around me. I will mute them. I will kick them from the group. I will kick people out of my entourage. Like, oh, we're not playing these games today, homeboy. You know, because I police that. And they'll say, oh, God, HR is here. You're goddamn right. I don't play these games. You can go play something else. I will just say,
I never saw anything like that in Breath of the Wild. She said, you said spawn rape. Did you say spawn rape?
Yes. Yeah. Such that if you're playing a game against another team and they find out where you're going to like respawn every time you die, you come back
they just
in,
go and they'll
just shoot camp you right there away and shoot you every time you come in. And they call that spawn rape.
I have 2 teenage boys and as much, and they talk a lot of trash at my house around 9:30 when they're all on the interwebs playing with their little friends. I have to shout way too often to get them to stop doing, but I have never heard anything like that because they know that PS4 would be in the garage.
You've never heard them say it. I bet they've heard those phrases before, especially if they're playing with strangers. Because a lot of times,
not so much, but yes, I'm sure I don't hear what's on their headsets. I just hear oh, and all that sort of stuff.
Back to my point, though. So being somebody that plays in all of these spaces, I hear how individual groups aggress on other groups when they think nobody's listening, and I hear how nobody is fully embracing all the other points because everybody's busy trying to make their point. And so Chappelle was busy trying to make his point. He tried to be a little bit clear on a few others, but I think he's also done a good job of holding up a mirror to the LGBTQ community. Like, y'all got your own problems, so quit coming for me because y'all don't even do your own people right. And I think that stung a little bit. And I think he made a very good point. And again, it was missed. He made a point in the closing. Somebody mentioned that he did an analogy about gay, lesbian, bisexual, and trans riding in the car together, and how the gay and the lesbian were like driving up front, the bisexuals in the back, and the trans was in the back, and like they wouldn't even turn the window, they wouldn't even let air get into the back, and the trans was like, "Can I roll over there? Shut up!" Like how they treat them.
I think that was in Sticks and Stones. It wasn't in Closing.
Yeah, it wasn't in the Closing, but yeah, it was in Sticks and Stones. But even then, the point about, I know it wasn't the Closing, y'all. I was saying it was in the previous special.
Right. I just wanted to make sure they understood that.
He's made this point before that even within the gay community, they don't understand all the attributes of all the letters. You know, and I've had this conversation with lesbians, with bisexuals, even bisexuals, about how even in that idea that bisexual was a thing and that you weren't just not making up your mind took a while for people to get acclimated to. So we're all still learning and growing. And this is within their own community. You know, a gay man telling a bisexual man, you need to pick a lane. Like, can I be me? You know, so all of this is growth, and nobody really has a right to throw stones because we all got glass houses up in this piece. So I think if everybody could be a little bit more understanding that we all got beams in our eye, right? And if we all could accept the fact that we might be wrong about something every now and then and have something to learn, we can move forward. But everybody's so busy defending their turf and trying to prove that they're in this struggle Olympics, that my struggle is harder than your struggle, and your struggle is harder than my struggle, and I had it worse. Well, no, I had it worse. Well, I was at first. Well, my struggle is older. You know what? We all got it bad. And if we all could band together for once and fight the real problem, which is always going to be white supremacy. If we could all just stop these little end squabbles for a minute and go after white supremacy, then maybe we could finally make some real progress. But this divide and conquer ain't gonna never get us nowhere.
Well, that's the biggest challenge I had with Dave Chappelle. I just got to add this context on the record. Dave missed the mark because he didn't stay focused on white supremacy, right? He went in specifically on the transgender community, which you can't separate once you decide to pick an identity. And you can't erase race, just like we say. You can't talk about women and think that we're not going to talk about black women, right? You can't talk about women. That's just like the women's suffrage movement. Wait your turn. Let's get it for the white women, and then you all join in. Ida B. Wells proved that fact, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can't act like once he decided to attack the trans community as an advocate for the black LGBTQ community, you can't we can't give you a pass to say, well, we know you were just talking about the white people, because you weren't talking about the white people. You were talking about all trans people. And when you chose to say, we protect y'all, this patriarchy, like we keep your secrets, right? That perpetuates the down low, right? That perpetuates his um, time period of don't ask, don't tell, the down low, all those things that demonize all the efforts that the black queer community has exists to be up high, right? And at the same time, he took, it's not lost on me that he's married to an Asian woman, right? So the whole concept, yes, I'm getting back to black women on here. Tom, if you could paste what I put in our private chat, the whole conversation of the article was less about Dave Chappelle, but where Black women in particular and the Black LGBTQ community show up. But I liked her advocacy for Black women on how much we tolerate, right, on behalf of the Black male not narrative, right, to the point that we don't even have to be asked, right? There's not it's that protection that she wanted to go in. I know Jamila enough to know she was trying to go in on a different level. Like, well, Dave, you're no advocate to black women, right?
Neither
And
has been. Yeah.
right. So it can't be lost on anyone that his disrespect of the trans community is just as much disrespect of black trans women as well as lesbians, as he had no problems talking about knocking out in his special. But it's the demonization to say, if your purpose of your dialogue was about white supremacy and white people, you should have stayed there more than just focused on trans people to the point of no return, right? And
You
that's
know,
why he's feeling his pain. I totally agree with Joy on everybody taking their lane and taking their shot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm less concerned about that from this article as a topic, because what it glaringly opened up was the conversation about the black family, right? And about the black construct and where women and patriarchy fall, and our tolerance of patriarchy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Joy, you did a small little window about the black church. There's a whole, I think that it's a valuable series conversation about the construct of how much women, black women in particular, do to keep the black construct and the black community intact, in spite of ourselves.
So, one of the things that I coach people about individually is if you don't like your life, you have the power to change it, right? And the things that happen to you, you either let them happen to you or you do things in your power to change what happens to you. Don't just let your life happen to you. So, now on a macro scale, if we as Black women want to stop being these shoulders that everybody stands on, even without asking, we got to stop standing there. I'm not saying that we abandon the Black family, but I am saying that we stop being shamed into being at the bottom and being Atlas for the world. I am saying that we start demanding more. I am saying that we stop believing or being shamed into believing that it's our fault if something falls apart. That if a Black man attacks us, it's our fault for not holding him up, or that he is going through a lot and we shouldn't dime him out for the abuse that he's given to us, or that if we decide to achieve and we have left the Black man behind. You know what, brother? You could have went to college the same way I did. It's struggles all over the world. But this idea of we should feel obligated to continue to selflessly sacrifice. Fuck that.
you
Oh,
know,
I think that ship has sailed. think I totally think that Black women, a sector of Black women, has taken that mantle, Joy, and part of the dysfunction, if I could use that word, is that there's just not honest dialogue about it, right? I appreciated how you talked about everybody shooting in their own lane and only seeing something. I think that there, and I only brought this article to have this conversation, right? That we need to have more conversations, right? We need to have less talking over each other and at each other, or not even agreeing to disagree, right? It's not about right or wrong. It's about what could have been done differently to bring more people to the table. Like Jermaine just put up, a large number. We're not taking anything away. There is mad racism in the LGBTQ community. That ain't the issue. Dave, were you the best messenger for that? The way you chose to demonize the most marginalized within the community, just like the backseat analogy that you said, Joy, that you decided that you were going to lift up a white trans woman to talk about your one white trans person best friend who killed themselves, right? That's gonna be your mantle that you put it on, but yet your issues with the white LGBTQ community. All I'm saying is you weren't the best messenger.
No, I think you're mixing up a lot of things there, but I want to get off of that because I think going back and forth between these two things have nothing to do with each other. So let's stick with the women or stick with Dave. We can't keep bopping back and forth.
I'm just finishing my point. I'm responding to Jermaine's statement that is in the comments. I hear you. I'm not mixing the two at all. Okay. Right. So, and I want to be clear though that was the central figure of the article, and I was responding
even in Dave's show, he spent more time talking about white people than he did about trans. He had an underlying story, and the reason that his friend killed herself was because of the bullying from white trans people.
Based on his version of the story.
Okay. So
that's all I'm saying. And we can table that, but there has to be room beyond Dave Chappelle behind to talk about where I started this conversation, the Black woman's role and dismissal of her value in defense of patriarchy.
Okay. So I would like to say something now.
Yes, please. Can't wait.
So one of the things that struck me about this article is that I was expecting one thing and didn't actually get it, because the vast majority of the quotes that were referenced in this article were from the 2017 specials, when the furor was currently over the 2021 special. And by going back to 2017, it changed the lens for me a little bit. And I think perhaps because there was a lot of feeling in what was being written, and some of the words that she chose to use even about Black women, I understand that they were creative choices that she was specifically making a point about, but it was intriguing to me that they ended up being used in the way that they were used. But two things that Joy said struck out to me, and one, and you said something similar, Sharon, about the focus not being on white supremacy. And as I do, I tend to tie things back to pop culture, because when I see something reflected in pop culture, it's intriguing to me. And there's a show that I'm binging right now called The Expanse. And The Expanse is about man's journey into the solar system. And so there's Earth, and there's Mars, and then between Earth and Mars is the asteroid belt and beyond, and they're called belters. They're basically like almost the castaways. The Martians are in trouble because Mars has weaker gravity, and so their bodies can't hold up, but they're still humans. Everybody is human, but because they have traded out, the belters are on these little hard rocks. They aren't really planets, and they have some resources, but they need a lot of resources, and they're basically kind of like the proletariat class. Mm-hmm. But this threat comes into the solar system, this proto-molecule. And at a certain point near the middle of season 3 of the show, the proto-molecule kind of catalyzes as a universal threat to the entire human species. And there's a moment It's only about 2 episodes long, but there's a moment where the Martians and the Earths and the Earthers and the Belters all are united in trying to solve this problem. But then it turns out that the proto-molecule actually isn't an obvious problem. And so by the next episode at the start of season 4, it's all about pushing the Belters to the side, Earth and Mars, the highly developed societies, battling for the resources that this proto-molecule has opened up 1,300 new potential galaxies or places to get resources from. Mm-hmm. And it strikes me that that was kind of the Dave Chappelle quandary. You had a moment where you had a unified threat that you could have addressed, but you chose instead to keep fighting the Belters. And when you were talking later, Joy, about Black women holding things up, it reminded me, it called to mind that you were almost writing the script for Encanto too, because Luisa was the strongest woman in the family, Madrigal. And one time for Encanto, for showing Black Latino people in full blackness, not like light skinned with just curly hair. I mean, full on Black people with curly hair. And
it's funny you said that because Luisa's song spoke to me specifically.
Well, and I was like, you said Atlas. I said literally, she must have just watched Encanto because she's really singing the damn song. And then you had Maribel.
Being perfect all the time.
No, that was Isabel.
Oh, yeah.
Isabel's the perfect one. Maribel was the one who didn't have any powers, and the abuela was blaming her for everything. You're the one who's taking the magic away. It's your fault. You found Bruno, and now everything's falling apart. Da 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 da. And they were putting it all on essentially these two characters. Well, Luisa was putting it on herself, and then Maribel was the one who was, everybody else was kind of dogging out. And so it really resonated with me when you made that comment about the role that Black women in our culture, especially when they are in relationships that are not only not supportive, but actually physically violent against them, and all of these other sorts of things, that there is something that we can pull sometimes out of our art that just ends up being true. And in this particular instance, the thing I find myself in as a fan of Dave Chappelle, and all of the work that he has done, when he makes some of the choices that he makes, I can't deny him his agency as an artist to do that, but as a fan, I can regret it. And that was the thing that I felt. I thought he kind of closed the closer in a way that was somewhat redemptive. But again, from his point of view about this white trans woman that he actually didn't know that well. I mean, he had her open for him a couple of times and, had only met her 2 or 3 years previous. It's not like this is his writing partner for the Chappelle show. Yeah, or like Paul Mooney or anybody else that he actually knew and loved as a person. He found a way to take this piece of a story and I think paper over some of his lesser material and saying, well, I eulogize this trans woman. And so
I felt it was guilt.
You're not hearing. Well, I don't even know really if he felt any responsibility at all for it. I think he felt badly that this person that he respected for having guts ended up making the choice to end her life. But I don't think he felt he was personally.
You don't take care of somebody's child for the rest of their life. But anyway, the article was not about him. Let me come back. Let me come back. Let me come back.
Once again, we're talking about Chappelle, and I thought we were going to talking about Black women. Pick one.
Well, I just said, I'm just responding to Tom. Okay, Tom went there, so I'm responding to Tom. Now, the reality, and I just pasted in the private chat about Black women, the article was deadly centered, and they used him as a prop. They didn't use Closer, they used him as a prop. That's why she went in between 2017 and Closer. That's number one, so we don't miss it. But look at the headline. This is also about the big black lie, right? And she closed bringing context. I wish Joy was here. She closed bringing context on the black ass lie about Black women specifically. And if you paste from the private chat, Tom, what is this?
Sorry.
It's Joy's avatar.
My camera's messing up.
You'll see that she brought home about the concept that as to where Black women fit and don't fit in the dialogue. In other words, we keep making everything, instead of keeping the conversation true, she's talking about Black patriarchy co-opting the methods of white racism, right, on the Black narrative.
That's what Damon
You know,
Young
if I
was
had to
talking
bring the
about.
whole thing home, huh?
That's what Damon Young was talking about.
Right. So I appreciated the thought you know, it's never gonna be right or wrong. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. All of us can land where we want to land. But the conversation, again, the deep conversation, we plaster over critical race theory, we plaster over all the different isms and identities, but no one's having a true conversation about the sacrifices of Black women within the Black construct, the Black narrative. And I really thought that article was provoking to start that conversation.
You know, I had this conversation actually about something completely different, but it's related. Earlier today with a friend of mine, we were sitting in her garage and we were talking about fertility and aging and blah 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 and Gen X and Gen Z and millennials and blah blah whatever. And I gave her this idea that the younger half of Gen X and maybe the older half of millennials, somewhere, you know, born in the 70s, the early 80s. I said there's a generation of women that are just sacrificed to the cause. And what I meant by that was, you know, there's a swath of women that achieved a whole lot, not necessarily getting married, not necessarily having kids, also not putting up with a lot of bullshit, turning the tide on what Black women can do, what they can achieve, a whole lot of leaving your wealth that you try to generate to your school and your sorority and a bunch of other stuff, putting up living wills and whatnot, because we are blazing trails that are dying with us because we have nobody to leave a lot of stuff to. You know, writing a whole lot of books, but not leaving legacies beyond the written word or epitaphs, you know, and the reason being, you know, this whole idea that we're trying to have die with us is the pinnacle of a woman's success lies in a man. You know, this whole idea of you did all these things, oh, but she never got married. I don't care. And so there's this group of women that are choosing or have chosen or did choose or whatever to succeed and to be great and to do these things and to push their community forward, and sacrifice that piece of it, but also allow the women coming after them to say, I'm not putting up with that. They didn't put up with it. I'm not putting up with it either. And slowly over the course of 2.5 generations, you have women coming after them and they're like, we're not doing this anymore. And so you're seeing it on, like, I see it on TikTok, on Instagram, and a lot of the young women, they don't put up with what we were told we had to put up with and chose not to. We didn't say it very vocally. We were just like, I ain't doing that. That don't sound like fun to me. I don't need these things. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. So be it, whatever. And then the next generation, I don't think I want to do that. And then the generation after that, we not doing this anymore. And you see it changing. Same way you see a downturn, going back to the church, a downturn in church attendance, because that don't sound right to me. I read the whole Bible myself, and you didn't finish that whole section. So no, you know, and then you see, you know, men responding in kind by the shifting of what's acceptable, and older generations having to get out of the way. When I was growing up, we didn't let women do blah, blah, blah. Ain't nobody asking you, bruh, back on off, because things are shifting. Get out of the way and let the young kids figure out how they want to give and love and receive differently. You know, I did a piece on my YouTube channel about toxic masculinity and how we got to stop training young men in every race. This is race agnostic. Stop training young men to separate themselves from their feelings, because then we reward that over and over again. And then we wonder why so many CEOs are narcissistic bastards, because we taught them that that's what we wanted them to be when they were 5. So we get them out of that and start getting people back in touch with their feelings and have more healthy relationships all the way through. Then you can go and get this full-throated declaration of love and acts of service, because we're not going to get that. We can hang that shit up. That's not going to happen. So let that go. Stop looking for closure, because closure is not going to come in that way. Go ahead and move on and focus on making sure that the things that we didn't get, the next generation demands. And that's how you make the change, and go ahead and recognize that we can continue to stand firm in telling the same way our grandmothers and mothers told us, girl, go get your education so you ain't got to depend on no man, and make sure that you don't ever get left out in the cold. And now we're telling the next generations, girl, make sure you got your shit together and start your own business. And then the next generation, this is how you run your life so that you can be fulfilled. And it gets better and better. And so the declarations on this have to come. If you set forward what you demand, people will either meet them or they won't. And if somebody wants to be with you, they will meet your demands or they won't. It's negotiations 101. We just got to stop breaking our own deal breakers and giving in and guilting ourselves. There's a lot of deprogramming that has to go into, because you got mothers and grandmothers telling you that you need to go ahead and let this happen and it's okay, and you being too picky and blah, 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 blah. All I said is he needed to have a job. You being too picky. You getting older, and this isn't. All of this has to stop. All of it. All of it.
Don't be too picky.
I will pick what I want. And if I pick solitude, I will be happy with that choice too. But it all goes, but all of that goes into the reason
the Negro needs to have a job.
The reason that I'm sticking on like the relationship piece of it is because that has been used to hold power over women for so long, because we couldn't get our own apartment or even put property in our name or whatever. So you needed a man for all those things. And now that we no longer need it, we're still holding over the idea that we need a man for certain things, and we don't. And then we get shamed into, you act like you don't need a man. I don't. I want one, but men don't know how to be wanted. They know how to be needed. And so we're dragging them along with that. Be wanted.
Don't generalize.
Be wanted. I'm generalizing because it's quicker. Y'all know it's a generalization. Be wanted. Don't be needed. And that's the evolution on the other side. And then we'll get somewhere better. And then we can maybe stop bickering over stupid things like, who's paying for dinner, and worry about white supremacy again. You're on mute, son.
Sorry about that. This was a Dreamgirls call out, so I had to give Henry Elaine his opportunity to heavy, heavy. You got so heavy on me. That's Effie's.
I think it was so necessary.
It was.
I think it was so, and for the record, I was joking when I said that to Joy. You absolutely have standards. That shit'll run for the hill. Honey, I done tried it twice. Keep having your standards, baby.
Vera says,
and don't ever settle.
Joy was preaching today. And
she got all out.
I don't want anyone that needs me that didn't come out of my nuts. I was not sure I read that right. Community standards, people. Community standards. Thank you.
No, you got to. Chad has been going at it. I've been reading it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, he had that love, honor.
Chad has had some stuff to get off his chest too.
And we are here for it.
Okay, lighten the mood.
I will absolutely lighten the mood. So today, I made some gumbo. It was delayed because of COVID. Usually on New Year's Day, I will make some gumbo. But because people were sick and stuff, now I will tell you that I start my gumbo with my own roux. And I make my stock. I make bone broth out of my Thanksgiving turkey and my Christmas turkey. And that becomes my stock. It was frozen. It wasn't just sitting in the refrigerator. I was
going to let you clean that up.
No,
I was trying to hold my facial expression, but I couldn't.
I knew what you meant. I'm right there with you. Right. I did the same thing.
So today, I had defrosted my shrimp and peeled my shrimp and then boiled my shrimp shells to make my subsidiary stock. Mm-hmm. So I have my base stock, my dark turkey stock, which I will tell you, I used a Popeyes smoked chicken
I did
for
that.
this Thanksgiving. And so I made my stock because the Popeyes chicken already has like some Tony Chachere or something already on it. And so it already smelled like gumbo when I made my bone broth. I let my bone broth steep in my Instant Pot overnight, 8 hours, and it came out, and the uh, all of the stuff had rendered out, and it was great, and it was like real chunky like a demi-glace, and so I knew it was going to be bomb. So anyway, so today I started making my gumbo.
That's cross
CJ,
country.
depends on where you is at,
That's
CJ.
cross country, CJ.
Oh, so that's probably a layover unless you coming from Atlanta. So uh I also had some boudin that was brought to me from Houston, because everybody knows you usually eat gumbo with rice, but I had some boudin, and I usually put crab in my gumbo, but the crab harvesters are on some crack. It's like $97 for a tuna fish size can of crab, much less real claws and things. And so I did not spend $75 on claws to put in my gumbo. But this is my gumbo served over boudin with Old Bay hot sauce. And when I tell you, that shit is delicious. It is delicious. I am very, very pleased. And it's something, yeah, I'm proud of my gumbo. My grandmama, Grandmama Will Manel, Bobino Sprott, taught me both through my mother, who originally taught me how to cook, and also when I would go down to Texas to visit. And when my grandmother prepared gumbo, she actually deveined the fresh shrimp herself.
Yeah.
So you know, these days you just buy some deveined shrimp. You know, I'm not
That's
going to do
that
that.
must be an LA thing.
Well, you know, they had those little shrimp things with the little things you
You still gotta clean
and
it.
it. Yeah, exactly. So I have been making gumbo since I was a teenager, and so I am very proud of my gumbo. And when I would go back to Texas, yes, I said gumbo over boudin. It's not something I do all the time. But what is boudin but
Rice
delicious
with more
Creole
meat in it.
rice dressing? Yeah, and it was delicious. All it was a little extra protein up in there,
I made a
and
batch
I
of
am proud of
gumbo
that.
for my play brother when I went to his house in Virginia, and he had uh, fried two turkeys for
Whew,
Thanksgiving. And
whew.
after we picked them clean, I put that whole carcass
Oh
back in a
yes.
giant pot and boiled it
Oh,
all the way down
yup.
and used that as my stock, and it was delicious.
That's the
Yeah.
thing about the Instant Pot, and I'm a proselytize just a little bit about the Instant Pot. The Instant Pot, you can get a 14-pound
Told you
turkey
so.
carcass into an Instant Pot. Don't think you can. You have to break some of the bones a little bit, but you can get that cartilage renders out so beautifully. It is a delight. And you have you know, I deboned the meat off of the turkey, and then I ladled the stock in one of my bags over the turkey before I froze it to give that seal so that the turkey didn't dry out, because it was all ensconced and enrobed with my stock. And then I had a whole separate bag that was just stock. And when I tell you, whoosha.
You get mixed reviews, bro.
First of all,
So I'm gonna tell y'all a
no, that's
story.
just Shay. That's Shay. Listen, Shay. First of all,
Okay.
in my house, I can do whatever the heck I want. And
So
boudin is a Creole delicacy, and gumbo is a Creole delicacy, and so I can combine them to make gum boudin, and I did.
gumboudin.
That
Well,
blam.
Mr. Hicks
See,
is the
Captain
chef in my house.
Portmanteau,
I
gum
will
boudin. I said
yield.
it.
I
So
will yield to your brother, Mr. Hicks, any day of the week, and he will slap you silly with his gumbo against yours. But
Well,
he gonna
we'll
put
see.
some
That never
oysters.
that never happened. That
He
never
gonna put some
happened.
oysters, some shrimp,
Oh, I put
some
oysters in gumbo.
lobsters, some scallops. I'm like,
Oh, so you're
dude, the
you're
kitchen.
you're big on the seafood gumbo. He's doing a whole seafood gumbo. See,
Yeah, but he's still gonna put
I
his
do
sausage in
chicken
there.
sauce. Yeah, chicken
He's still gonna
sausage
drop them
and
sausages in
shrimp.
there. He don't never do
And
nothing without no sausage.
you gotta
yeah,
have
and if
sausage in it. You just need it. Yeah.
that's what she said.
Now,
So,
I do remember one time, like I'm I'm very flexible on what you want to put your gumbo over. You know,
Right.
you can do rice. I'll allow it with the boudin because I do understand depending on how it's made, it can be mostly rice. You know, so a little bit of meat flavor. You know, it depends on how
Right.
it's made. In Houston, you do get a lot of boudin and it's mostly rice. So I'm gonna give you that. Howsomever, I went to visit some friends in California, and I was going to cook for them because the husband already told me that the wife couldn't cook nothing. So I was like, I'm
Ooh.
gonna come help y'all out, make y'all some gumbo and leave. And she's like, no, I know how to make gumbo. My friend showed me. I was like, oh, okay. She goes, yeah, you get the shrimp and the sausage. I was like, yeah, okay. Okay. And I'm thinking, all right, I'm gonna be able to lay back here. I ain't gotta do nothing. She goes, yeah. And then you boil the chicken and you put it in. I was like, yeah, okay. You go, yeah.
Wait,
And I'm
boil
listening.
boil the chicken.
Man, look, she was close enough. So I was like, all right, yeah,
Okay.
you boil the chicken. That'll work. All right, okay. Yeah. She goes, yeah. And then you put the potatoes across the top. Potatoes.
Whoa.
You just said. She goes, yeah, picking
Potatoes.
it up. Ma'am, what? Like I went from okay,
Potatoes.
what?
No.
What did you just say to me? Yeah, like you gotta put potatoes in it to thicken it up. That's how you think it.
No,
No, ma'am,
girl.
you're making stew.
No.
You're making
Or
stew.
what you could put in to thicken it up is okra,
Mm-hmm.
which is what okra is designed to do. And by the way,
Yes.
for you gumbo enthusiasts who don't like okra, gumbo means okra.
Gumbo means okra. Is
So
actually a word. Yeah.
you might have some gum no if you don't have okra in it. And Shay, I was born in Beaumont, Texas, part of the Golden Triangle, and I got so many
Oh my
Bobineau
God.
cousins up in my house. I will tell you right now, I usually only use rice, regular rice. But I decided that I was going to blend my things together for my enjoyment. And I did
I've
enjoy
done
it.
some incredibly ratchet and creative things with broth. So I'm gonna let you have that. But yeah, when she said potatoes, we never told her about that. I
Right.
just did not let her cook that night. I was like, you get out of your own kitchen. You go sit down.
I just
I'm gonna make
I
this.
but I don't what I don't understand is that I can understand a person not making their own roux, but if you know
I
anything,
want to
she
know who told
probably
her to
done
put
made
potatoes
gravy.
in it.
But
But
this is
this
what I'm
is
saying. How
California.
to thicken it? For what?
Somebody
You
that
could just
understood
make
that you can put potatoes in a stew to thicken it because starch is always going to thicken something. And I think
sure,
that they were
but
just making a seafood soup and thickened it with potatoes, but that's not gumbo. That is seafood stew. So have at
it's
it.
barely seafood stew. It's certainly not even bouillon based. Potatoes and Sadita, yes, thank you. Pan fry the okra, which of course I do. Although I
Okay.
don't necessarily mind the slime. So my mom taught
Mhm.
me this trick because again, when she would saute her
Yeah,
okra
fisherman
in the
stew.
in the fat that was rendered from the andouille sausage. So you sear the
Hmm.
andouille sausage, it renders all that nice delicious fat.
Hmm.
Spoon the sausage out into a holding container. Now you've got a whole base of that delicious rendered andouille fat. And then get your little Old Bay on top of your cut okra and then saute your okra, pan fry it in
Hmm.
the andouille fat.
Hmm.
Now you're doing something.
If you want to watch that in real time, they actually did it that way for a restaurant on the most recent season of Queer Eye on Netflix. They're
Mm,
updating their gumbo recipe and they do exactly what you just said with the andouille sausage and the rendering and the searing the
yeah.
okra and everything. They do all of that to
Yeah,
update it for a restaurant. Mhm.
I am not a person who likes the texture of okra, so I find that the pan frying and the long cooking time helps to almost disintegrate the okra, so I get the thickening part of it without like
Mhm.
biting into a crunchy piece of okra, which is
Yeah.
not my favorite thing in the
That
world. I'm
works well with
sorry.
fried corn and with the okra too.
Oh, if I were to
Mhm.
eat that, which I don't. But
You don't eat fried corn?
no, well, I don't eat fried corn with okra.
Oh,
I will make fried corn, but I'm just not an okra fan like that. Okra is gumbo to me. That's it.
I
You're not
love
gonna find me.
okra.
Ooh,
Yeah.
pickled okra or fried okra fingers.
We used
Nah,
to do like
bro.
okra and corn and tomatoes, like all sauteed in a skillet.
Oh yeah. See, again, I was born in Texas, but I didn't like live in Texas City for real at the time. So like when my mom would make ham hocks, oh Lord Jesus, she would make ham hocks in a pressure cooker, and when that fat rendered out of it, you poured that juice onto them black eyed peas and rice. Ye gods, that was some eating, and oxtails too. But you can't. I mean, you might as
Back when
well
it
be
was a
buying.
regular price.
I was about to say you might as well be buying a tomahawk steak for a damn some oxtails these times. And
We
then
spent
That's attached. Yeah, it's
$120.
attached.
We spent
yeah,
$120 on just the meat for
that's what I'm
oxtail. That's
saying.
that's a that's our turkey oxtail.
And
Mhm.
So
and don't
we had to
even
spend $120 just to have the adequate amount to last from Christmas to New Year's.
and don't even try to get oxtail from a restaurant these days. They'll charge you
No.
$35 and you get two
Mhm.
chunks of meat like this,
Mm-mm.
and then all that bone and cartilage. I'm like,
Mm-mm.
And oxtails used to sell like gizzards,
yeah, it
just
was nothing.
like the scrap food.
It was a
It's so
tail.
offensive.
It's supply and demand.
It's a damn
Once the
tail.
majority discover that they tasted good, like everything else that we this is why we can't have things we like. They once the majority started buying them, it was a supply and demand issue, and when demand went up, so did the price. When you start
I
hearing about like gentrified oxtails, all of a sudden, when you see
You
oxtails at
said
Trader Joe's,
gentrified oxtails.
they're gonna
That
be
is
Jesus.
a
30.
great characterization for
I
the cost inflation of oxtails.
I am waiting for artisanal oxtails from Whole Foods to see
Yeah,
how much
with raisins and
artisan.
peanuts on them. That's
Oh,
coming.
jeez,
Please
That's
stop,
Alisa.
coming.
stop,
While
stop.
while we're talking about food and people are talking about how hungry they are, I do want to invite you the opportunity to buy some double good popcorn for my son. You can
Well,
go to
why don't you put the
Bitly.
link in the
I,
thing in the
well, you can't
comments?
click on the link, and I will do that. You can't click on the link in the chat, but I will put it in there for
That was
people.
slick. Now, that I think you
It
should put up that picture
see
that you
that
put up for your son.
that segue. You like the segue?
That was gangsta.
Yeah,
That
my
was
my son.
gangsta.
First of all, my son has a lot of hair. When you click this link, there is a
I
lot
was
of
like, what
hair.
is happening right now? We in Woodstock? What is Tom
Yeah,
doing over
he.
there?
Hold on, I'm a share the. I'm a share it
I was like,
because I
is that
want
my
to.
little Tommy? Like, what's happening right now?
That is your little Tommy, and this is my son. I promise, if you order popcorn, there will not be any hair in the basket.
Oh my God. And when you said
And
that, I was like, where? What?
yeah, he doesn't have any of
Now
this
it's
hair anymore. He
it's
shaved all
time for
his
our
hair
gross
off.
segment. I
So
have a gross segment before we
what gross
close
thing
too.
you got? You got something
You
gross.
just
Why
said
is it?
hair and popcorn, so I have something
Oh,
grosser.
oh my God. Okay, go ahead.
The
So
ones that's not
I
me.
was
Yeah, show
food
the picture.
poisoned. I was food
Oh,
poisoned for a few minutes right before I got on the show. That's why I was a few minutes late. So someone decided to have I told them I was going to call them out, but I'm going to be nice. Somebody decided to have an oyster party for Sarah's Joy, one of our Delta gents from back in the day wanted to have a oyster feast for us. So we had raw oysters. They were shucking. They had a
was that
professional
DJ?
shucker. They had a professional shucker. Didn't I just say ain't call no names? We
I mean,
had a
you said
professional
it last
shucker
episode, so I
layout.
was just making sure.
Shut up. And had the raw oysters on ice. And it was fabulous, right? I was eating my oysters, had some garlic, hot sauce, and then they decided to do some Parmesan uh, oysters. And of course, ours took over. We supposed to be just there getting set out, and they started making the oysters thing. So I'm
The
sitting there, everybody,
Rockefeller.
I'm an old lady in my little scooter. So I get up and decide I want to join the party. Everybody's in the other rooms. I walk in, I'm really looking for some saltines, right? Like I appreciate, but after a dozen oysters, I need a few crackers to break it up. So I helped myself. It's a friend's house. I saw the crackers on the table. I opened it, and I walked back in, and I put the cracker in my mouth. Now, mind you, freshly break seal, and everything in my mouth was like, I have to spit out this cracker. This cracker has got to be spit out now. And I looked over the box and said, a Winn Dixie. I said, who buys Winn Dixie brand saltines? How could they be this bad, right? So I'm like, okay, Sharon, you're having a bougie moment. Just go quietly and spit out the steak. So Sarah see me and they're like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I'm like, oh God. I said, And they were like, it's stale. I said, yeah, but when I opened it, it was crisp. I opened the package, but I just chalked it up to stale, but it was not stale. My mouth was burning. So one Sarah, who is that Sarah,
Where
Joy,
was Drake?
goes over to the box. Huh?
She
Where was
said,
Drake in
"Where's
all
Drake?"
this? With your mouth
Hold it.
burning.
Uh-oh.
The Sarah looks at the box, and the box says 2017.
Win Dixie?
The box said 2017. I already told them my lawsuit was dropped after this show. I am now like, I'm gonna spit on all y'all holding it, right? I ain't chewed nothing, but it's in my mouth. My mouth is burning. So, but get her some liquor. She gonna get on that damn podcast. She gonna tell that we poisoned her, that we gave her. I said 20. The moral of the story, people, is check your expiration dates, right? But what fucker keeps a box in their house? Unless, when Dixie May sold it that old, right? But no, he had it that long. The box said, I was like, my jaws. It's that they pour me liquor, and I'm literally shaking with vodka. Yes, I'm literally right before the show, right? So I'm like, give me something. 2017.
I mean, no lie. She did send us what does it say? Driving home now, just been food poisoned, maybe 2 minutes late. That's what she sent us right before the show.
My mouth, my lips, these crackers taste like shit. My
Damn. Well,
lips,
good, it's recorded. I can't, because I'm going back to the party after I get off. And I told them, listen. Now let me tell you something. When I walked in the house,
do you have to take a time machine to the party?
This was so sweet. No, y'all, this is beautiful. This is how much they love Sharpies. I walked in. Now I plan on doing a 30-second. It don't take long to eat oysters, so I was just gonna shuck a few and come back to y'all, right? So, all our shit is on tape. That's a damn shame. I walked in. They had a big red recliner set up for me, Joy. Plants all behind it, right? They had because they expected me with all them Negroes in that house to do the show in the middle of all of that. It was, if I had my laptop, I'd have done it because I was food poisoned. I still needed some more liquor to clean my mouth, right? But all that to say, I just thought I had to give them a shout out. They had a whole setup with a red leather chair for me because they didn't want me to leave. But after I was food poisoned, I had to go.
You had to go. I got to get out.
Come back here to tell y'all about this story.
Right. And get away from the poison.
One time for the crackers from the Jurassic period.
Right.
Jurassic.
Right.
Crackers.
Crackosaurus Rex.
Crackosaurus Rex.
Crackers do not preserve. There was all kind of vinegar stuff. I'm telling you, if I die within the next 45 days, you blame it on that cracker. How about that? Did you see that?
What is definitely not going to be from 2017 is Double Good popcorn that's ordered today. They have a bunch of really delicious flavors, and they even have an option where you don't have to get the popcorn. They will send the popcorn to essential workers, and you don't have to pay shipping or nothing. $20, and you can send some popcorn love to someone because you don't need. If you are anything like me and you got a single niece or nephew, you probably got 12 bags of this stuff in your house. I feel you. Send it to an essential worker, or just get you the one bag of like the cheesy. I'm doing a comparison between the Easy Peasy Caramel Cheesy and the Chicago mix. The Easy Peasy Caramel Cheesy is caramel corn that has cheddar on it.
That and Garrett's Chicago mix?
No.
No. I'm about to say that's
ain't no point.
Okay.
They sell one now. It's called Chicago Per Diem or something like that.
Yeah, it's the Chicago. Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. So I got
one. It's actually pretty good.
Which is kind of like the Garrett's in terms, not kind of like the Garrett's. It's the Chicago mix of cheese, corn, and caramel corn. The Easy Peasy Caramel Cheesy is every piece has cheese and caramel on it. So 2 different kinds. And so I am going to.
I'll be placing my order in the morning.
Thank you, everybody. I'm not saying that he's in competition with somebody else in our Jack and Jill chapter, but I'm not saying it. So, so if you want to help Tommy be number one. He was number 3 for a while, and then some people, I guess, with cousins started running the SCO up. So thank you, Sharpies. I love you, and I know you love this popcorn. And with that, I'm going to say, I am Tom Cunningham.
I'm Sharon Letman Hicks.
And I am Joy Stevens.
And this is, okay, Tanya says, I prefer the little kettle that could. Prefer it again, Tanya, as much as you like. This is Steel Sharpeneth Steel.
The music.